Here I am at the kitchen table with a fishing rod in my hand. I'd rather be at the lake, but I want to talk to you today about how to rig a spring bobber. I call this a spring bobber because there's a spring on it right there that holds the line on. Now, I'm going to unhook this hook from the guide. It's on the side of the guide. I'm going to let out a little bit of line, open my bail, let out some line so I have as much line as the rod is long. That's the best way to deal with things when you're fishing too. Keep about as much line as your rod is long, and you can swing fish or lures right to yourself. Now I first attached my hook. Ooh, there's a little bit of worm on there, isn't there? That's a fake worm, by the way. I just left it on and it dried up. A piece of fake worm. Then the sinker, about 6 inches up. It's a pinch on, pinch off sinker. You can pinch the tail of that sinker and it would open up and pinch it to get it back onto your line. I pinch it with my fingers to start, and then I use a pliers to really attach it to the line well. And then the bobber. Now the spring bobber attaches, see that? I just pulled the spring back, and then there's a slit right in the stem of the bobber. Not sure if you can see that. There's a slit right there where the line goes. And that line, I would wrap it around 2 times so the line goes right into that slit, and then release the spring so that it covers that slit in the stem of the bobber. And now my line is securely attached to the bobber. Now, I wasn't fishing very deep the other day, but if I needed to switch and fish a little bit deeper, I would pull that spring, unwind the 2 winds, release the line from the bobber, and then I would move that bobber up the line. And I could set that bobber for about as deep as the rod is long, right? Does that make sense? Because then you can wind that bobber right up to the tip of your rod almost, maybe leave a 6 or 8 inches from the tip of your rod, and then you can still cast it. So I can fish about as deep as my rod is long. If I want to fish deeper than my rod is long, then I use a slip bobber. That the line actually goes through the bobber, and then there's a bobber stop on the line where the line slips through the bobber until it hits the bobber stop, the line stop, and then that stops the line from going through the bobber. So that's a nice way to fish in deeper water, like in midsummer when the bluegills are 14 feet down and 20 feet of water. Slip bobber's the way to go then. Or fish right underneath the boat, straight down underneath the boat without a bobber at all. And I do both. But I just wanted to see how simple it is to attach a spring bobber. It does damage your line a little bit every time you put a bobber on. For example, if I moved it to a deeper level so I could fish a little bit deeper, I'd have to remember that there's a weak spot in the line where the bobber was attached. And I would have to keep that in mind if I get a big fish on, to play that fish gently because of that possible weak spot in the line from where the bobber was attached. Just something that's good to keep in mind. And if it's really weak, then it's good to break it off and retie. Get rid of that weak spot, retie. We'd retie by first attaching the hook, then attaching the sinker, and then attaching the bobber where we want it. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Happy fishing.